1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2.
All right, people. Soccer Dad Pod, we're back. Busting it out here with a little bit of Oklahoma zone. Zach Bryan. Doing this on purpose for all my East Siders in particular. I don't know if you're on social media, you've probably seen it. The little dude that was down at the Zach Bryan concert in Tulsa put the sign up, said, "Hey, Zach, I can play, blah, blah, blah," and brought him up on stage, and then he proceeded to do the song better than Zach did. Well, that little kid was from Collinsville, Illinois. His parents I'm acquaintances with, so I figured, well, Zach Bryan, shout out to Rain. I mean, think about it, people. I think he's a high school senior, maybe. I'm pretty sure he's not going to have a problem getting a date to the prom. You step up on stage with Zach Bryan, you won. Go buy a lotto ticket, kid. Or tell your parents to go buy you some lotto tickets. Soccer Dad Pod, we're back. I'm going to be joined here tonight with a double guest mashup here. You're reading your dashboard. You see it. The recent crowned national championship coaching staff is here with me from the Bears. We're going to be talking all about the season program and so much more. We're probably going to do a little bit of rubbing in, a little Chicago, St. Louis trash talk apparently is going to be in order here as well. Quick thank you to Crescent Plumbing Supply for continuing to support the show. This probably right towards the end of the year. Make sure you rush over there before 2025 pops. Get yourself that Soccer Dad Pod discount, 6614 Olive, just north of the Del Mar Loop. Get that. Your kids are dirty. They're gross. Your bathroom is officially destroyed. Go get it fixed. They'll help you out. Also, Ambush STL indoor. We are in the midst of indoor season. Family Arena. Go get your tickets. Get everybody out of the house. Let the kids burn off some energy. Give them those Dippin' Dots and drink arguably the coldest beers in the area. The aluminum out there, for whatever reason, is colder. I don't know if it's a St. Charles County thing, but it's super cold beer. Go check out the games. Fast-paced, fun. I want to talk a little bit about the previous episode. We actually were joined by Dylan Hundelt from the Ambush. You probably recognize that Hundelt name because his father, Kevin, also an Ambush indoor alum. Here in St. Louis, it's like you hear certain names, you're like, okay, that's one generation, that's three generations, that's two generations of soccer, which actually we're going to be talking about. We got one of those names here today. It's a multi-generationer. So that'll be fun. Go back, check out the episode. Really cool, kind of getting everybody up to speed on what's going on in the MASL, the role of the veterans, the role that the veterans are playing, not only within the Ambush, but within the league, the role of TST and its popularity. You got CBS Galazzo going on, just a lot in that episode that's just super cool, giving you some insight, peeling the onion back on the indoor game. Also, I just want to talk about the show generically. For whatever reason, we're approaching 200 episodes. The numbers keep going up. And all I can do is say thank you for continuing to listen. Since we're still fairly close to the holiday season at the time of this recording, like, review, follow, share. It's the giving season. It's all free. Find somebody that you think might not be offended by usually three of us dipshits. Tonight it's only one plus my guests. Would really appreciate that because our guest list is absolutely amazing. I would challenge any regional podcast that is soccer centric to a duel to lay out their guest list versus our guest list. I bet we have more caps, more national championships, more pro games, hands down. And I'm talking to you, Kansas City. Bring it on. Any of you. That'd be fun. So here's what we're going to do. I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to go ahead and bring my guests on tonight because I know some of you are like, Jesus, JB, shut up. So without further ado, the two-time national championship head coach, Coach Conlon, and assistant Mr. Santel. Thanks for coming, fellas.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
You don't take this the wrong way. We're how many days what was that, last week? About a week ago?
Yeah, it's a little over a week and a half now.
You still look a little tired.
We do. We
Has
are.
has the partying not stopped?
I think the celebration continues. I think the paperwork also continues. So it's a fine line between.
I mean, when you're the champ, you delegate, man. You say, look, I got 2 of those rings. Here's my paperwork. First off, congratulations. Let's just start right there at the finish line. You guys captured 2nd national title. Great year, big numbers. Just talk about the day. Talk about that one game, going into the game, final whistle blows. Coach, you first. Kind of what's going through your head. You know, where's the feels right now?
I mean, the feels are incredible. You get to the last game of the season, pinnacle of college soccer is the national championship. But going into that, there was a little bit of nerve, a little bit of unrest, if we're going to be honest. We were there a year ago, and we had gotten to that game, but we didn't win that game. So then it's like, okay, how do we settle the nerves? How do we play well? Great first half, battled 0-0. We go into halftime, and it's like, okay, are we going to get this? Are we not going to get this? And our first year breaks through, earns a PK. And then I think after we got that first one, kind of settled in a little bit. And then to put 3 in the back of the net. But the team effort, the amount of energy, the amount of juice of us on the sideline, it was an exciting game. Really, really proud of the effort, but the mental resolve to lose in the championship game the year before, but then to be ranked number 1 at the beginning of the season all the way through brings a whole different amount of pressure. So you can't talk about that day without the mental resolve of going into that game believing in themselves. But it was fun. Winning is fun.
So let's talk a little bit about kind of that transfer between being the runner-up, which is the absolute worst term in all of sports. Last year, coming into this year, you guys come into the year ranked number 1. Give me an idea on what the head count looked like. How many returners? Maybe Coach Santel, talk about the kids that were coming in. Because veteran leadership is critical in all sports. So being able to get the number 1 ranking probably had a lot to do with who was coming back. What did that landscape look like from a roster perspective?
Yeah, I mean, we lost some great talent from the year before, and we were able to keep our goalie, Sid Connor, in the net, which was huge. She was able to do her grad year, which was massive for us. And then we had some really, really good freshmen that, hit the ground running once we hit preseason. And they were able to not only make a huge impact in games, but just raise the level in training. So I think level from year to year, we just kept it rolling and just filled in those gaps where we could. And so, Coach talked on it that being runner-up and then coming into the next year, it's mentally really, really hard. So I think the team did an unbelievable job of kind of just looking past that and it was a new season.
So goalie, what was the goalie's name again?
Sid Connor.
Sid Connor, okay. Captain, or who else was the captain coach?
So I've taken a unique approach. We don't do captains because if you look at
that, why am I not from WashU? I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I think if you look at the definition of a captain, we expect our seniors to act like that. So we have to give a lot of credit to those seniors for putting that mental resolve. But to go back a question, you go back to the stats. Some would say we probably returned 9 of 11 starters.
Okay.
Which then maybe increases the pressure. You're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
But day 1 we got on campus, we had several of our campus partners and even our parents, hey, we're going to Vegas. I was like, we got a lot of work to do before then. But I thought our seniors, whether it's the 6 seniors that we had plus the 4 graduates, really set the tone mentally. So even though we brought a lot of pieces back, we had to retool a few things. And Brandon brings it up. We had 3 first years that played a lot. We go to the national semifinals. All 3 goals were scored by 3 different freshmen.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen all the time.
No, to your point, when you come into a season with low expectations and maybe pseudo quote underdog status, and you have a nucleus, or that you've got some special stuff, on the roster, there's one strategy to work with that, and that's just like, let the dogs loose. You just go.
Right.
But when you come into a season and you have 9 of 11 starters, and you got upperclassmen, you're integrating few, you've got a different set of expectations. So talk a little bit about that. Like, how do you guys as a staff, because now you have plenty of tenure and experience now of being on both sides of that fence. Talk to the listener or other coaches that are listening, about how you do approach a season when you have low expectations versus a season like this where you have high expectations.
Yeah, I think you got to look from within of what's the identity of your team. And if there's low expectation or from the outside noise, it's how can we get this group to best perform to their personal abilities. I don't think the model's very much different when there's a lot of high expectation, but I do think the trick is a lot of positive mental talk on top of keep reinforcing that you women are good enough. What you're doing is good enough, with having the fine balance of keep working hard. We haven't gotten there. We're not satisfied with where we're at currently. And so it's really a matter of getting to know each of them. And as Brandon said, we didn't know Sid Connor was coming back until May. So we had to kind of retool what we were doing in the back line. We had a couple of our players studying abroad during second semester junior year. So we didn't have that plan to put the whole pieces together. So our starting 11 wasn't ready for the fall.
Imagine that, the nerve of these student athletes putting academics ahead of the athletic schedule,
right?
Of coming from WashU students, right? Let me maybe ask this question specifically with the goalie scenario, and feel free to skirt it if you have to. But I'm really curious because in today's world, you have the rotating influx of younger classmen that are feel like they put in their time, they're due, etc. But in this particular example, you're talking about somebody that's coming back that you didn't know was going to come back.
Right.
You go through most of your spring season, if not all of your spring, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, our goalie's coming back. Speak to the goalies that you had on the team, and did you guys have to approach them and maybe to kind of hey, I know you thought maybe this was the year, but
right.
How do you do that? How did you do that?
Yeah, candidly, that's a special story. We have to go back 2 years. We have only had one goalkeeper on the roster the 2 previous seasons.
Oh, Jesus.
Because we had one young lady graduate a year early as the engineering valedictorian in only WashU fashion.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a whole parallel world
Correct.
here.
We had another young lady tore her labrum. So Sid was the only keeper 2 years ago. Then Shara was supposed to be her backup last year and tore her ACL over the summer before coming in. So Shara had prepped the entire spring to be the new starter.
Yeah.
And then Sid decided to come back, and Sid asked, she goes, "Can I tell Shar?" I said, "Yeah, go ahead." I said, "If you need me in the room, let me know." And as soon as Sid told Shar, the way I heard it was Shar sprinted across the locker room, gave her a huge hug and said, "One more year, let's run it back together."
Yeah.
And so
in true WashU style.
Right, and I think that's selflessness.
I need a button for this episode where I just hit that every time, like the sad trombone.
So you got to give the women a lot of credit. Shar could have been like, "No, this is my turn," but she was nothing but great. And then we brought in 2 first years, but Shar has been a great backup. She's waiting in the wings to have her moment. Sid is graduating; her eligibility is done. She'll continue in grad school, but. That could have gone very differently, like you said.
Yeah.
Shar was waiting to go, and she acted with first class and did nothing but support Sid. And to throw a wrinkle into it, Sid's master's program had her in Barcelona in the middle of the season for 10 days.
Oh,
so Shar did have to start and had to start 2 games and get us 2 wins in the middle of the season, one of which being conference to help us win that conference championship. So a lot of credit to Shar at the way she handled it and the relationship that her and Sid built.
So Brandon, let me talk to you here for a second along the lines of, we keep kind of alluding to the WashU way, right? This kind of cerebral extra that most programs, with all due respect to all programs, you're not WashU. But what I want to ask you is, you're now, when we last talked, you and your dad, maybe about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer. You kind of fresh to the program. Now you've ran the gamut this year. Second year, am I correct?
Yeah.
Second year, and here you are with the national championship. You got a runner-up in the national championship in your Rolodex already. But what I want to ask you about specifically, because you being the puppy at the table here, you had your own college experience. You've had your own experience around other programs. But I want to ask about WashU and kind of that the mental part of it. Because when we talk, everybody in soccer talks about, if you want to break down a player, there's the technical, the tactical, the physical, and the mental, right? WashU's mental pillar is different than most. 2 years in, with your experience and all of these true stories and anecdotes that you know about, talk about what the mental side means to you as an assistant working with these girls at this program.
Yeah, I think when I first got in, I don't know if I fully grasped that. Just knowing now what I do, how much they put in the classroom, studying every day, really, because like you said, I've been around several different programs now in my own college experience, and we could show up to practice having gotten our work done and focus on practice, and knowing that I'll be able to get it done when I'm back. But these players, these women have to come in and that might still be on their mind when they step on the field, and they might have to be up late studying, and they might have to, do more just to keep up with everyone else at the school because it's so rigorous. So I think it takes a different level of, mental strength. And I think the biggest part is they do it in a group. Everyone supports one another in such a huge way. It's not, no one's left on an island. So, we talk about it early on in the season of, majors of our seniors, and how can we guide, underclassmen to what classes they're taking, how can we help, how can we, in whatever way they can. So I think it's, the biggest thing is just not letting anyone do it by themselves, but how can we help them through that process. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've seen is just how much it actually takes off the field and how much they're putting into it. It's really impressive.
Coach, let me kind of ask you a follow-up on this, because you've been there since 2008. 16 years of being surrounded by arguably some of the smartest young individuals really in the world. As it pertains to that kind of mental acuity, within the team, do you actively lean into that as an advantage within your team, within your coaching style? Because if I back up a little bit, we know plenty of coaches in multitude of different arenas, from club and all the way up to college pro, et cetera, where it's either they're a super technical coach or they're a super tactical coach. But you have a secret bullet in just the student body, coming in. How have you over the years, maybe leaned into it, or is it just kind of part of the process and it's just a plus one from a coaching strategic standpoint?
No, I think you have to lean into it. I think you hit that right on the head. I think you have to lean into it and really make sure that you understand who your players are. And I think part of that is us giving them a lot of information prior. Let them soak it in. Let them digest it so they're ready to perform on the field. If we just go into a practice, for example, winging it, it doesn't go as well as if they have the plan, they understand the plan, and now they're ready to execute. Game days, we don't talk to them. They have the game plan the day before, and now they can mentally prepare the night for what their role is and how they need to achieve. But I think you definitely have to lean into it. And I've learned a lot since 2008. The way I came in 2008 and approached things, we've altered it, but really leaning into their gift of having the mental ability to process their classroom, but then the excellence on the field. We might watch a little less film than some, because it might be too much information. Let's give them what they need.
Do you find that, like I'm a father of three, and I've been around a lot of sports teams as well, and most of the time, like you typically have to be instructive, kind of consistently instructive. Don't forget this, do that, blah, 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 et cetera. Is it just a little bit easier when you do have students of that kind of educational level, for example, when it comes to film or preparation, I have to assume that they're probably smart enough to know that they need to watch film, and they're doing a lot of it on their own. Is that true? Do you see that kind of happen organically?
Yeah, I think when they know the level of excellence it takes to win championships, they will own it. We don't have to continue to remind them, but it is our job to teach them everything it goes into it. But once we've taught them, like you said, we don't have to remind them over and over and over. And if I could be,
like a teenage boy,
I was going to say to be
Like
to be
Jesus.
bold enough to flip it. Sometimes they have to remind me, "Hey, coach, are we doing this? Coach, are we doing this?" Because they're just so locked in and mentally smart to know the habits that they're putting in. But
So let's talk a little bit about the current squad going into next year. You said that you returned 9 of 11 players this year. How many are you losing, and what are you looking at? Reasonable expectations, because you've already started working on next year. I know how the game's played, right? How many are you losing, and what are you looking at coming into next fall?
Losing 10. Yeah, 10.
10 of 11 starters.
No, 10 total.
10 total.
Yeah,
Okay.
10 total.
So roughly how many starters? Like on average, are you losing 5, 6, 7?
5 to 6, probably.
Is
Right around there.
so is that kind of an average number? Is that you strategically, coach? Over the years, do you kind of build your rosters, with the the pipeline spread out?
yeah, so we hope that each recruiting class will complement each other. So if we bring in one class and it's 5 or 6 players, can the other class complement them in the starting lineup for 5 or 6? But we know that we are losing all 3 of our backs in a 3-5-2. We're losing
And your goalie.
and our goalie. And
So you're losing all 4 back.
correct. And then we will lose.
I don't want to point it. I don't want to rub
Correct.
it in or anything, but
We do have a sophomore that started quite a bit in one of those backs, so she'll immediately fill in. And then we lose the 2 wing backs. So, but the plus is we return a lot of goal scoring.
Yeah.
So we'll retool the back line. We've got some women waiting in the wings that'll be very good. But we do lose 10 incredible seniors and grads, and we lose 5 to 6 starters. But we've got some women that are ready to step in there and get it done.
So let me ask this then, just about the program in general, and I want to talk about your counterpart. Has been forever. Well, just recently is walking away on the men's side. Joe Clark. You came here in 2008. He's been there since '97. Joe obviously has a name that's if you're listening, he's been a guest. Go to Wikipedia. It's a pretty impressive resume. Being a Chicago guy, North Side, come down here. Obviously you've been in the game. Presumably your playing / adult life. When you came to Wash U, did you know who Joe Clark was? And if yes or no, and then beyond that, what did it mean to kind of coach with him parallel, for all these years?
Yeah, I had the great fortune of coaching against Joe when I was coaching men and women before coming down here. And then as soon as I got here, Joe was a first-class mentor. I mean, there wasn't a day that went by in the office that he and I were collaborating, and I was learning so much from him. So, like you said, Joe Clark, Wikipedia him. He is amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
His coaching accolades, his playing accolades are through the roof, but the man he is and the mentor and friend that he took me under his wing, and our program wouldn't be the same without. I mean, Joe Clark love him forever.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. I mean, we've had the incredible privilege to talk to so many here in St. Louis and beyond that are kind of legends of the game. For example, rest in peace, Pat McBride. Mm-hmm. We were lucky enough to grab one of the last conversations with him. Joe, though, is one of those really unique individuals that, because there's a lot of, quote, badasses that are, St. Louis legends, that were hammers, that were grinders, kind of that prototypical Midwest tough nose, real technical players. But Joe is like everybody's freaking best friend. Like how, for you, Brandon, is, because you're in a unique position having the dad that you have and growing up and playing and doing everything and, the dinners and, hey, my dad's playing with this guy. who's on the national team, with him. What did it mean to you to kind of go to the program and, and then kind of hang out with Joe as well, kind of at this stage in your career/life?
It was really cool. It's kind of coincidence too, because when I stopped playing, Joe was actually the one that kind of brought me over to WashU. For that brief moment, Jim wasn't around the program. Kind of helped Joe with the women's team in the spring there, and Jim came back. So Joe's kind of the one I talked to before that all happened, and then it's fortunate enough Jim decided to keep me around. So, and then coming on full time, it was great working alongside Joe. Like Jim was talking about here, every day in the office, you could learn something from him. Whether it's soccer, on the field, off the field, whatever it is,
life.
He could teach you, and he was probably the guy to ask. And it was really cool to work with him and just learn so much.
So Jim, I want to talk to you briefly here before we take a quick break and get some refills of this cold northern beverage. Don't tell anybody in St. Louis. Everybody already knows. I drink Miller Lite. Whatever. Fight me. I'm fine with that. You're, as I mentioned a little earlier, you're a Chicago guy. Been around the game your whole life. I want to maybe put a pin in the map a little bit again before we take a quick break. When you were looking at opportunities and up pops WashU in St. Louis, you go ahead and say it. You can add that to there, St. Louis. What did it mean to you to be able to have an opportunity to come and coach at really one of the most prestigious universities in the world? But not only that, you get to coach a game that is located, in my opinion, the original capital, soccer capital of America. What does St. Louis mean to you now in hindsight, coming here in 2008 and then having the success that you've had, and now you're part of the fabric. You will have your name in St. Louis soccer history due to your relationship with this team. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, in 2008, we were part of the reason we came down is St. Louis is a soccer city. We had just had our second child. My wife and I we didn't know anyone in St. Louis. We have no relatives here. She doesn't. I don't. We've had some friends. I recruited some, but St. Louis and soccer, we knew we could raise our kids here. And if they chose that they wanted to play soccer, which both of them did for a long time, was great. We wanted them to be in an environment and in a city setting where they could learn from different cultures. I don't know if I will ever be a part of the fabric like you just mentioned. This place is a very rich tradition, so I'm just happy.
Well, think about it this way. Coach Vitello over there at DeSmet, right? The legend that he is, he too is a North Side Chicagoan. Came down. He actually went to Kansas to play baseball and ended up being hooked by a bunch of St. Louis guys to play soccer. Came here, and the rest is history. So I'll put you in the Vitello pile.
Okay, fair enough. Appreciate it.
No, it's really kind of it's fun because it is one of those. I'm gonna maybe wax poetic here for a second. I love the city for that, and I think that's why we do the show, because I love hearing the interpretation or the impression or the feelings that you've been here a long time. Are you an outsider? Maybe we'll put an asterisk there, but you're a St. Louisan. At this point, you can't have two national titles in the 3-1-4 and not consider yourself a St. Louisan. You're kind of looking at me crooked.
Well, I say that because
you got family listening. Maybe are they gonna
I have definitely been swayed, but my children 100% are St. Louisans. Neither were born here, but they are. My daughter went from Blackhawks to Blues real fast, and they are Cardinals through and through. And so,
how old are the kids?
19 and 17.
19, 17. So college and senior?
College junior.
College and a junior. Where's the college one going?
Elmhurst in Chicago.
She went the other way.
She did go the other way.
Oh, my God.
That's correct.
All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to get some refills here. When we come back, we're going to talk more soccer. We're going to talk, for those of you parents listening, I'm going to ask all those fun recruiting questions. And don't get your hopes up yet. You haven't even sent in the film. We're going to talk about style and opinion and the it factor. By far my favorite question of all time, the it factor. So I'm giving you guys a little heads up. Be prepared for the it question. Soccer Dad Pod, like, review, follow, share. We'll be right back. See ya.
Listen up, guys. While you lay claim to the garage, the basement, and that generous little corner of the walk-in closet, let's be abundantly clear. The bathroom belongs to the ladies. The fact that there's a line in the morning means you need to think about a new one for you and the kids. So why don't you set up an adult field trip and go check out Crescent Plumbing Supply Showroom. CrescentSupply.com. Everybody wins.
All right. We're back. Playing this one for you, Coach. In honor of your alma mater, the hometown, Chi-Town. I love Chicago. To be totally honest with you, like, I lived there for seven, almost 8 years. You're from the north side, right?
I am, yes.
Way up north. Evanston?
Correct, Evanston.
Were you in one of those rich kid neighborhoods? Isn't every neighborhood in Evanston a rich?
Might be a little farther north to the rich. Evanston's got a little bit of everything in it.
How far away from the last L stop were you?
2 more stops after us.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So went up into Wilmette.
Okay, so bottom line is if you can get on the L, then you're technically still in the city.
I can get on the L, 100%.
And then
I took a public school to high school, or a public bus.
Nice.
So I'm a city bus and a city train kid.
Dang.
So
you beat up all those John Hughes kids that lived over on the curvy streets.
yes, yeah.
I like that.
I didn't have a car at 16. I had a bus pass.
Well, you know what? Chicago's one of those cities you don't need it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Because again, if you're anywhere close to the L station, I mean, for you, what is that? The 25-minute ride to Wrigley Field?
Yeah, tops.
If that?
Yeah,
God, I love that.
because there's no stops on game day. You
Yeah.
actually bypass most of the stops and go direct line.
Yeah. 25 or 6 to 4 by the Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, Chicago. So, Brandon, now that we totally wasted a little bit of your time, are you jealous you never lived in Chicago?
A little bit, yeah. I missed out on this one a little bit.
Well, okay, well, let's keep digressing. Pizza. I gotta, if you're a North Side Chicagoan, it's clearly thicker than an inch.
It is.
So you come down here now. You're what is that? 16 plus years, Provel and on crackers. Thoughts?
That's not pizza.
I didn't ask if you thought it was pizza. I asked if you liked it.
But I have not gotten used to Provel still. I've
Man, not
gotten used-
even like going to like Guido's or like a real restaurant and like load the toppings. You're not down with
I have
that?
not gotten used to Provel yet.
What's your favorite pizza in St. Louis then?
I'm a Dewey's fan,
Yeah.
so I do like Dewey's.
I just literally got a text from my wife like 6 minutes ago. We're going to Dewey's. You want anything? And I'm like, I'm eating healthy. Go pound sand. I alluded to before the break. I wanted to get into a little bit of that secret sauce stuff. A couple different aspects. You're wrapping up your season now. It's time to get to work, and part of getting to work is preparing to backfill, bring in the new blood, the recruiting part of the game. Let me just ask you that. Do you like recruiting?
Love it. It's the lifeline. I mean, these are the people you're going to surround yourself with. I love recruiting.
So a lot of programs, kind of head coaches tend to rule by proxy, right? When it comes to recruiting, like, hey, I'm looking for a 6. Go find me 6. I need them to be, 6'1", this fast, left-footed. Go find them, and then they kind of hyper focus on their program, and then they have an associate coach or a recruiting director, et cetera. What's your personal role in the recruiting process with your program?
I think I do a lot of it. I mean, we share some of the responsibilities. We would love to go say we need a 6 that's 6'1". We need to find someone who's going to get accepted. And create our formation from that. But I'm highly involved in the day-to-day of recruiting. We might share the evaluation, but I'm definitely still making phone calls, checking film myself. We split up today how we're going to go this spring, who's going to which showcase. So Brandon does a lot of it, but I think it's an equal split.
So given the fact that Division III is a unique beast in so much that, quote, there's no money, athletic money. So recruiting, a lot of parents don't understand, like, well, why? How are you recruiting? You have no money to offer, right? Because there's that weird conversation. when you recruit, you know, forget about the positional needs. What are some of the things that you're looking for, like in a player, be it stylistically or maturity? You know, kind of draw a picture of, you know, the character mold of a player that fits a Conlon team.
So I think the first thing is these players need to figure out what they want, and each school is going to be a little different. So when we're out there, we're looking for a high character and great teammate that is absolutely a bone-crunching defender that will run through any 50-50 ball, and then has some pace on the dribble. I think those, you know, for us, whether they're down 4-0 or up 4-0, how are they treating their teammates?
Well,
After a goal is scored, how are they treating their teammates?
yeah, the player style. It's funny because I could not help but think again of the Chicago ties. You're looking for a bunch of Ditkas, right? To kind
Yes,
of,
yes.
to kind of run through.
Yes.
Brandon, recruiting process. Obviously, you know, you grew up with a different set of eyes. You played the game in a different set of systems, et cetera. You know, knowing what coach is kind of, you know, stylistically maybe looking for from a personality standpoint. When you're watching the girls play, what are some of the things that you're looking for? You know, maybe from a fluidity standpoint or a teammate standpoint. You know, talk about maybe 1 or 2 points or things that kind of stand out to you whenever a kid executes, quote, it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of evolved a little bit over the last year. I think at first I was maybe bringing a few too many small technical center mids to the table.
They can't all be Maradona.
Right. But no, I think it first and foremost, it depends on like what position you're playing. I think you know, do they have certain qualities depending? If they're a winger, are they taking people on? If they're a center mid, are they, you know, good in the half turn? If they're a forward, are they producing up top? So I think it depends on where you're at on the field. And Coach talked about, you know, their character as well. I think that's a huge one. You taking plays off, or you kind of throwing your arms up. That's a big one right away. And then after that, it kind of depends on those little. I'm trying to find. Okay, if you're a 6, okay, are you getting on it? Are you switching the point of attack? Doing the little things consistently, and that'll keep me on the field longer and kind of seeing more as the game goes on.
So let me ask both of you, and either one of you can chime in first. You know, as a D3 program going to these showcases where inevitably there's D2, D1 eyeballs on everything else, when you do start to really kind of see that lovely little player, you know, like, oh my God, that's a good fit. What is there a certain amount of frustration, you know, whenever maybe when you realize, you know, that there is a ceiling to a degree on some players, specifically when you do see kind of that marquee player, you know, oh my God, you know, that's the one, but you don't know where they're going. You don't know who they're talking to. How do you manage that process in kind of evaluating not only good enough, but good fit? And then you also have the other aspect, and that is, can they even get in academically? How do you navigate that really cloudy world? Because that's significantly different than somebody that's from a power conference in D1 with all the money in the world, and when the kid's really, really good, they can say, look, we'll come here, we're going to give you all this. Right. How do you navigate that?
Yeah, well, I think you always look for talent, first and foremost. Whether you think they're a D1 kid or not, you're going after talent. And then it's an introduction. You shoot them an email or you shoot them a text, whatever medium you have to get a hold of them, and see if they reciprocate. If they don't reciprocate, I don't take it personally. Yeah. I just hope they found a good home for themselves in that realm. But if they do reciprocate, okay, let's talk. Let's see what we have to offer. And I think that's where the crux of recruiting comes down to any family is, what does each school have to offer? Whether it's money or culture or, you know, academic standpoint.
Yeah.
But we're going to introduce ourselves to a player that we like. Now, whether they reciprocate, that's up to them.
Well, it's so funny because I was kind of in pseudo preparation for tonight. I was thinking about, you know, kind of this particular subject matter, you know, and you think about what is the goal, you know, because like I have 3 boys, so like, you know, and my one son that's playing, like, I know what the goal is. He thinks and he wants and he's doing the work to become a pro, right? That's the path. And, you know, when you look at the girls' side, clearly there's pro pathway. that's significantly smaller than what the men have. I mean, that's just, it's growing, but it's just not there yet. So you have fewer kind of like post-college opportunities. So that's where I was thinking about you guys today, like, okay, so what are you really selling? If you're not a D1 program, or you're not like kind of a national team or a Pro Path Eyeball program, but what do you have to offer? You have that degree to offer from a university in which, okay, you could be the best soccer player in the world. You could be a top 100 player in the world, maybe make 70, 80, 90 grand a year in that median world. Congratulations, you're one of the best players in the world, but that's where you're at. And when you're done playing, you're going to have to figure something out. Versus your grads, they got a different bullet in the holster there. How much fun is it to recruit and kind of, have the fluff your feathers when it comes to, look, you come to our program, you get a degree, guess what? You're on the path to success. It's a question. How do you feel?
I mean, it's a huge piece of it, because I think, like Coach was talking about, there might be that power forward kid on the field, but we're going to give it a shot and we're going to communicate. And we have that in our back pocket of knowing if you can get in, and after 4 years, you're going to leave with top degree. So I mean, someone that values it from the other end, that's what we're looking for as well,
Well, I guess maybe I left that a little open-ended. Let me frame it this way. Do you ever sell that? Do you ever actively talk about, like, if you're looking at the +1 beyond soccer, do you ever sell kind of that alum network, that pathway, the corporate side of it? Because again, it is a unique university from that standpoint.
Yeah, I think we're selling, where do you want to be at 25, not 21? I think a lot of high school kids are thinking about where they're going to be at 21. Where are you going to be at 25?
Yeah, I like that.
Let's look at that. Let's figure out even the financial side of it.
Yeah.
You might have a scholarship during these 4 years. Where are you going to be at 25 and beyond? And I think that's the way we look at it.
Yeah, it's one of those things, again, you're like, okay, so you want to be pro. Okay, well, that's fine. Well, if you come here, we can get you in a venture capital program, and how about buy your own team?
Right. Well, you were joking.
I mean,
we
joke, but...
You're joking about the venture capital. We've got a couple of basketball players in the NBA realms. But we joke, I'm like, you might not be a pro athlete, but you might be that pro team's doctor.
Yeah.
That very well could be.
No, it's really unique. So Coach, to you, I posed it to Brandon a little earlier. For you, like, you've been to, sounds like you're active in the recruiting process, either film or going to games, etc. You go to a game and you're watching two teams maybe that are like prospecting to be a good matchup with potential players on the field, and then all of a sudden the game starts and one of the kids does X. What is X? The it thing that catches your eye that you like to see in a player that you're like, oh my God, I don't care what they're thinking. I have to have this conversation.
I think there's two. I think one, when they blow by somebody on the dribble, now we're talking. And then on the flip side of it, when they absolutely blow somebody up on a 50-50 ball. Like, if they are willing to sacrifice their body to win that ball, those two things will stick out immediately for me.
So let me ask you from a coaching perspective, strategically, because I'm envisioning, I know the kind of player you're talking about. In totality, how do you, what is the style or the structure then that you like to build, where you got, a whole bunch of road runners that are also Mike Tysons? What is your team chemistry kind of look like stylistically?
Well, I think there's three things that define us, and the third one will be the most telling. But we want to possess the ball. We don't play kick and run. We do want to interchange. We want to move all over the field. And then the third one is high press. So from our forwards to our back line, we feel like our offense is our best defense. And as soon as we lose the ball, we are going to counter press you. And so our forwards have to be willing to go on tackles, our center backs. But the sixes that Brandon was mentioning earlier, they got to blow up the world. If they're in on the counterattack, they got.
So it's not just box to box; it's 6 to 6 or touch to touch.
Correct.
Yeah.
We're going to play all 120 yards of the field everywhere.
I heard, I think maybe it was the second factor, fluidity. Sounds to me a little bit like a Cruyff model in so much that you're looking at almost like total football.
Yes.
Right, where you have the players that can kind of interchange themselves. Do you allow them that kind of freedom, or are you more of a X and O's, here's your lane, here's your role, responsibility, or are you one of those staffs that's like, if you're going to be creative and effective, go do whatever the hell you want to do?
The latter. Go do whatever you do. I got called out by one of my alums several years later, like, you're never going to get overcoached by Jim. He's going to give you ideas. He's going to let you have freedom and go.
Do you have certain, though, thresholds, like minimum standards? Like for example, I'm wondering what yours might be. My own high school experience, Coach Baker had a couple simplistic rules. It was like, look, don't ever let anybody get outside of you. Don't ever use the outside of your foot. When you pass, it's got to be inside foot. Super simplistic and disciplined. And he goes, but if you try anything else, here's the deal. If you pull it off, whether it's an outside of the foot pass or whatever it is, and it works, great. If it doesn't work, just go ahead and start running over to the bench. Like he gave us a baseline of rules and then said, you can be creative, but you better be effective. Where are you in that spectrum? Because he was pretty extreme in my case, but
I think we're very opposite of that. Like, go be free. Go play the way you're going to play. And if you make a mistake, we'll cover it. But I was reading a Mike Krzyzewski book a long time ago where Grant Hill was like, Coach, why do you have my hands down here all the time? And he's like, well, that's the way I've taught it. He goes, but it's not comfortable for me. I will still play good defense. So learning each of these players' threshold as opposed to team thresholds, I think is the key. And then when they do mess up, actually reward them for trying something by walking out onto that ledge to dare to be great, as opposed to try and handcuff them by limiting them or yelling at them. Like, let them go be free. We scored some goals. Then I'm like, how did we do that? I mean, we'll look at each other, what? But they felt free. They could go do what they wanted to do.
Yeah, I love that. A little while back, Jen Cease and I over on Soccer Mom Sunday, we talked to UCLA head coach Marguerite, I'm going to butcher her last name, Ezosa, I believe. I was so incredibly impressed by her in general, but she said something along the lines of what we're talking about here. I asked about style versus structure. Because there's typically you can break coaches into two boxes. Either you're kind of a stylistic coach where you interchangeable players, or you're a structured coach where you have a team model and you recruit players to fit within the structure of the team. And she's like, we're from California. It's all about style. And she goes, and the benefit of style is that, if you start your 11 and something's not working, if you have a structured system and you sub somebody in, well, then that's the exact same thing that you already have. I like some differentiation. I think I kind of already know what the answer is, but either one of you chime in here. Wash U Bears women's program, is it more style, go for the kind of style of player, or are you a more structured system?
I would definitely go with style. I mean, Coach, would you agree with that one? Yeah. I would say.
He was like, well,
I think,
pop quiz.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Yes. No, but I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, where it's like, that was a big part of our season was players coming off the bench. You weren't going to see the same thing that was on the field, in several different spots on the field. And that was huge for us, where I think we give them parameters of sorts of like, here's the role and here's the loose outline, and we'll guide you there. But once you're in the position, you're the one on the field, you're playing. So give them the freedom to make different things happen. So I think that was huge for us, was maybe X player playing center mid was more defensive. Well, the one that just came in is going to run at you all day. And that's really hard to defend. Or you just prepared for 20 minutes against one thing. Now you're seeing a totally different thing.
So I'm kind of scrolling through the roster here, just, along the lines. I'm going to get back to the kind of the recruiting world that you guys are living in, because now that you're in the off season, it's time, right, to reload. It could be because the other night, I'm sure you guys probably watched it, being college soccer junkies, the Vermont Marshall game. Vermont pulls it off, first time in school history, really, to win any national championship. That wasn't skiing, that was the asterisks. But there was a ton of immediate kind of vitriol within social media in particular regarding the rosters and the international player and the ages, because only like 21% of the players that played that night in a national championship game were domestic players. Vermont had an average age over 24. And just a whole bunch of statistics that really, as it was percolating out into the public, was just really irritating so many of the old guard. And I'm kind of just scrolling through because the women's side, yes, there are international players in the women's game, obviously, but it's not permeated to the extent that it is currently in the men's side. But looking at yours, the one thing that I want to talk to you about is your geography. I'm seeing Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, Illinois, quite a few Chicagoland players.
That's
up there.
true.
I'm wondering what's going on there. Georgia, Indiana, Texas, etc. I mean, you're really kind of smattering the nation. So talk to me a little bit about the strategy and or maybe the inbound interest. Because, again, WashU is a pinnacle school that people on the coast know that's an option, if they're kind of that education level. What regions do you like and why? Because on the men's side in particular, Midwest players tend to be gritty, Northeast players tend to be more structured, Southwest players tend to be more stylistic, flair. Are you seeing the same thing on the women's side? And where do you like to recruit? Or is it the answer yes, all of it?
I think the answer is yes, all of it. Kind of combining a couple of the conversations we've already had. If you're going to play free and stylistic and let them have some flow, you need to have a little of everything. The other part, when we go back to recruiting 101, is one, who can we get accepted? Mm-hmm. So we got to go all over the country to try and find that right student. Two, who's interested in us? So after we see you, who's going to reciprocate? And then three, we start building that relationship. So then once we have these players, how can we make them into one free-flowing style? 2 years ago, we were in a 3-4-3, knowing that if we didn't high press, we were in trouble.
Yeah.
The last couple of years, we've been in a 3-5-2, and that system has worked for us with the players we've had. But I think it's that free flow. And what Brandon was touching on earlier is when we bring somebody on, it might change the game. Yeah. It might change the formation. It might change the style. But having those different options is exciting. Because we can have a Connecticut kid playing with a Bay Area kid, and they can work together.
The inbound interest, how often when girls reach out to the program and provide their tape and everything else, is it the majority of them that you don't have to worry about? Because most people are going to look into the school a little bit and they're immediately going to find out, holy shit, this is kind of an Ivy League of the Midwest, right? Are you typically getting players interested that are of that academic status, or are you seeing that through the success of the program that you're really kind of getting at a wider swath of interested players because they're seeing the national championships? So it's like, well, I'm interested in that, but maybe they're like a 3.2 student or lower, whatever. What kind of player is interested in the program these days?
Well, I think you're looking at a little bit of both of those and a third element. I think you're seeing a lot of grad transfers want to finish their career on a winning note.
Pick up a year.
So then they've picked up a year, or, maybe they had one injured, obviously the COVID year. So I think you're looking at three different facets. The ones that want to transfer in because they see the success after where they're at. And then you've got people that want to win, but maybe don't understand the demographics of our university. And then we do have a lot that have already done their research and they're like, oh, this is an academic school that fits what I'm looking for. And then it's our job to create the relationship and figure out who's good enough academically, who's good enough athletically, and who's good enough in that culture and personality piece that we want in the locker room.
I'm going to stay in the recruiting area, but I'm going to shift it just up a little bit so that we can have a little fun with this never-ending debate between club and high school. You knew it was coming. You had to know it was coming. St. Louis is one of those unique marketplaces where we love our high school soccer. And there's a handful of areas around the country, New Jersey in particular, the Northeast, they still play a lot of high school soccer. A lot of other areas don't, or they just don't value it. What's your state of the union kind of where it's at today as far as, when you're looking for girls, maybe is there a tell if they are part of the GA or if they're part of an elevated ECNL team? Is that a priority? Or, when they say, hey, I'm playing on this high school team, we won our districts 2 years in a row, where does that come into play in your world, Coach?
Right. So we've had players do both.
Yeah.
That obviously played club 12 months out of the year. We've had some that.
Would you mind scooting that a little closer?
Oh, sorry. So we've had players go both that played high school and then some that played 12-month club. I think there is a way of learning in every environment, whether that's a multi-sport athlete playing different high school sports or playing club and high school. You might be able to play a different position. You might be able to be asked to do a different role. As we see in St. Louis, there is a lot of pride.
Yeah.
When you go to Soccer Park during the finals, last year it was Lindenwood, there's a lot of people out there watching. So if it can make you a better player, I would say experience different things. With that being said, if you are trying to go pro, and we have seen this on the men's side, definitely some of the women's side, we saw Alex do it last year going straight over to KC.
Yep.
Yeah, you probably got to play at the highest level. Like if that is your end goal, but there's so many more players in the collegiate game that probably aren't going to end up pro if you look at the numbers by it. So
Yep.
put yourself in a position. I say let them play high school from that standpoint.
I figured it out. Throw that left paddle down underneath your left hand. Flip that straight down. Yeah, there we go. You got Jared's chair. He doesn't sit. He lays when we're in.
Got it. I was just trying to lounge while we were talking.
No, I'm like, well, you're lounging away from the microphone. Yeah, no, we're back.
Like your office chair.
Brandon, let me ask you, because obviously you grew up here. You know what high school soccer means to St. Louis community. The girls' side has really kind of retained I would say, not, this is going to sound insulting to the boys' side, but I would say that it's retained a higher relevance in kind of the local marketplace as it pertains to the players and the level of players. For example, last year you had Maddie DiMaria still playing high school ball, right? And she's the Gatorade Player of the Year, and she will be a pro, hands down. It's coming. But they're still playing. Girls like her are still playing high school soccer. For you, along the lines of what Coach was talking about, because one of my nemesis has become a pretty good friend is Coach Ehrenberg over at Ladue, because you go back and forth all the time, club versus high school. And he kind of says exactly what you said. It's a different experience. You want to learn a different position. You want to learn a different role along those lines. So for you, Brandon, having played high level, club, college, pro, etc., and you look at the high school game here in St. Louis and the level of the clubs and the training that they get and the coaches that they have, how do you view the high school experience for these girls as they come into a college environment? What are the pros and cons in your eyes?
Yeah, I think it's kind of similar to what Coach was saying here. I think it's just a different experience that I think it's really cool. I think high school is something that not everyone gets to experience, especially on the boys' side. You're kind of hands are tied there. You kind of have to make a decision. I think you have a little more freedom on the girls' side, where you could do both if you'd like to. And kind of going off that same note, Coach was saying here, it's a cool experience, but you might get to play a different position. And coming into it, into college, you might have learned different things. Maybe you're a captain in your high school team. Maybe you don't have as big a role in your club team. So I think I'm very much pro having both experiences.
Have you, Coach Conlon, have you seen enough maybe evidence in comparing and contrasting girls that are maybe exclusive to like a GA lifestyle versus the girls that play both? Do you see maybe a technical difference? Do you see maybe a competitive difference? Because there is something to be said when kids play high school soccer. A high school season, you have one goal, period. Win state. That's your goal. Right. When you play academy, you want to win games. Maybe you want to win a showcase. But at the end of the day, what you're really doing is you're developing as a player because you want to get picked for another team. Right. So it's a completely different mindset. 16 years into this process and now seeing an influx of more and more players that have done exclusively just club from a developmental standpoint, are you seeing a little bit of a divergence between the two mindsets, or is a good player a good player?
I think what you were talking about before, where the men don't have as much of a choice.
Yeah.
When the DA folded for the women's side, there wasn't that ultimatum where they because you can play GA, you can play high school and GA, you can play ECNL and GA, or excuse me, ECNL and high school. So I think a good player is a good player. It's a matter of what you want to surround yourself with. I mean, the 18 women you're going to have on your club team, especially if you're a high-level club team, all the same age, is going to be better than the 25 over a 4-year span, different maturation levels, different technical levels. But you bring in leadership that maybe you're going to get in the high school experience that you're not going to get in the club experience. And like you said, you're trying to win a state title in high school. In club, you're winning some showcases, and it's a delicate thing. I think these club coaches have a big challenge to keep them motivated, because sometimes it's just, we have another game on the weekend. We have another game on the weekend. Where I don't want to call out any particular high schools in the city, but there's a little bit of a different tone when it's like, we're playing them today.
Yeah.
And whether that's soccer or baseball or basketball, the school has a little more emphasis to it.
Yeah, there's embedded rivalries.
Right.
And I'm a huge fan. Like, it's when you play, winning's cool, but to a degree, when you lose, you learn.
Right.
And when you lose to a rival, man, you get pissed. Going through this roster a little bit, I see looks like the lone St. Louis, and I'm not judging, but Miss Leaker, another name that is just a pedigree loaded last name. I love Grandpa Jim. He's a class act. Talk a little bit about Katie.
I mean, she's fantastic. She came in straight away and fit right into the locker room. It was like not skipping a beat, and just brought so much to the team from just different aspects. It was awesome having her around for this one season. It was kind of a no-brainer for us.
Did she walk in with the green jacket?
No, not.
But Grandpa did.
Grandpa did. Yes. But it was really cool having her this last year. I think brought so much to the group, and I mean, it was like she was there for 4 years when she on her first day. It was without skipping a beat.
So I got to ask then about the prospecting. Are you looking more and more in the backyard, or are you kind of you running a program? I mean, look, nobody can question it because you're winning a national championship. You just won a national championship, second one. The St. Louis talent kind of always on the whiteboard, or where are we at on the homers?
Yeah, I think you're always looking at St. Louis talent, and then there's factors like, do they want to get out of St. Louis? Some do. We are obviously. You're looking at this year's roster. She's been committed for a while. Officially got the paperwork last week, so Heidi Fessler will be joining us next year from the Gallagher program from Villa. We're excited about that. We've got a couple others that we're working on very actively right now for the potential near future. So we're always looking in the backyard. And like I said before, it's who reciprocates.
Yeah.
And so we want to find those. But St. Louis is a very, very soccer-rich town. So even though our roster doesn't look like it all the time, we always have to start at home.
I'm assuming it probably is fairly cyclical. I mean, I'm sure you've had some rosters that were probably 4, 5, 6, 7 deep, local, maybe. I could be wrong.
I don't know. I think I've only taught 4, 5, or 6 in my 16 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
is it okay? So is that a byproduct of just the national demand for the school, for the program? Is it?
No, I think it's more on the flip side, the national brand of St. Louis soccer. I think you got schools coming in here that want to take the kids out. I give our local players a lot of credit. I think they're trying to go to other places, and people are coming to St. Louis to find them.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy because again, Jen, her daughter's on that 2008 GA team over at Fuse. They just recently put a post out, kind of listing the schools and the kids, and it's like, Jesus Christ, 18 girls, like already 12 have committed to power conference schools. That's pretty crazy.
It is crazy.
So it's a good problem to have because, there's so much talent though. I mean, at the end of the day, there's options elsewhere. So off season, outside of trying to find the next national championship squad, living down here and not eating that thin crust pizza. What's the fun time look like? I mean, you got 2 kids. You got one in college and one about to go to college. So, are you like cutting grass on the side to pay tuition and like? What's the off season like?
For the next couple of weeks, starting this weekend, it's going to be rest. We're going to sit back and relax a little bit. Hopefully, Brandon gets some time with the family. But you can never turn it off. You asked earlier about recruiting. We love recruiting, so we love creating those relationships. So we'll be back on the road pretty quickly in January. Try and bring in a lot of visits during February, and then with our current team, get them ready to go. We gotta hit the weight room. We gotta get some technical work in the winter months. But it's fun. I mean, showing up to work is fun every single day.
Is there? I mean, I've been to some, but because we always kind of overlook what's in our own backyard. Is there a more beautiful campus, like the core, the heart and soul of WashU versus anyone? Like maybe San Diego?
I've been on a lot of campuses. So you can't do anything about the environment, whether it's a palm tree or an ocean next to you.
Right.
But as far as a college campus,
The architecture, the vibe.
Yes.
Everybody walking around just oozes IQ.
The partnership with the Del Mar Loop, with having some of our residence halls over there, and then having the eatery right next to Clayton.
Yeah.
With the West Campus. So it's pretty nice.
It's pretty cool. You don't plan on going anywhere,
No, I'm here.
huh?
I'm here.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm not yet Provel in, but I'm close
That's
to
correct.
permanent
That's
in.
correct.
Brandon, when you take Coach around the corner over to the Loop, what's your favorite place to feed him? 16 years. You've probably been to all of them, but where are you guys getting that burger at lunch?
High Point?
Yeah.
No.
High Point,
maybe
Blueberry Hill.
Blueberry Hill, yeah.
You throw darts when you go over there?
Not yet.
I have with our seniors after a couple seasons.
Ah, there you go. Yeah. Well, guys, I really appreciate you coming in and joining me, man. This has been fun. I mean, it's we're so spoiled here to have so many institutions that have the pedigree and the history, and you keep adding to it. Bringing in the big trophy, that's pretty cool. So, congratulations. Best of luck with the next year, and next time you come, I'll have more beers. Just bring me a scarf. You noticed that earlier. We got to get those scarves going.
We do.
But you got to put those stars on there. I only want a scarf, though, that has stars on it.
Okay, I'll work on that.
Gentlemen, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. And again, good luck with the rest of the recruiting season and into next year.
Right. Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for listening, everybody. Again, like, review, follow, share. It's free. It's the giving season. We'll take them. Until next time, we're out of here.